So we are back here with another video, man. This is going to be another long one, so buckle up. We got a lot of good stuff to talk about. I'm going to address two complaints that are happening in the community right now that are both going to lead my team down a dark path. So I wish that people would stop complaining about those couple things. And then we're also going to go through past 2Ks, and I've got a giant list. This is something I've talked about in the past of things that were complained about at the time people are now asking for them back, and they were to never return because of how heavily they were complained about. So it'll be good. Make sure to stick around because there's going to be a lot of nostalgia in this video, looking back at past my teams. I had fun kind of putting together the list and everything, man. So this should be a good one. Before we do get into it, though, please make sure to subscribe to the channel, and please make sure to leave a like on the video, man. That is always very, very much appreciated and helps me out so much. Love you guys, man. But anyway, first of all, we're going to start with the two things that are getting complained about that are going to lead 2K down a dark path. The first is people continuing to complain about shooting after the patch. So I think more of the community than not can agree that shooting at the beginning of the year online was better than it's been in years. Yes, it was easy to green shots. And yes, a lot of these complaints came from the park community, but a lot of them came from the Myteam community as well. So then they go ahead and patch shooting. Well, now it's a lot harder to shoot online. Still very doable, but it is a lot harder than it was. And now there are a lot more complaints about people using Zens, whereas before the patch, it was easier to keep up with people that were Zenning. Zenning is a huge issue in Park and All-Star Team Up. It is a huge issue in Showdown. It is an issue in King of the Court. It wasn't as much of an issue when the patch hadn't been implemented. Now, is this a 2K issue? Yes. 2K needs to crack down on Zens. It needs to be done. Zens, the amount of people using them is ridiculous. I don't know why people use them. I don't know how that's fun for people. I just don't get it. So that's a 2K issue. But now, even after the patch, people are still continuing to complain about people hitting leaners and stuff. It is not because shooting is too easy. It is because of people using Zens. The amount of people, running like a Sigma in Park and greening every single fade that they take is pretty crazy. It really, really is. But if people continue to complain about shooting, we're going to get to a place where shooting is the equivalent of what it was last year, which is probably the worst that shooting has ever been, or even worse if people keep complaining about this. So can we please stop complaining about shooting? Shooting was so good on day one. The game is fun when it's at its cheesiest. 2K21, I know I might be alone in this, was the best gameplay of all time because of how cheesy it was. And that's how my team should be, in my opinion. It should be cheesy. It should be goofy. It's fun. Okay? To me, it is. So I loved the way shooting was day one. They patched it. It's not as good now. Everyone's complaining. If people keep complaining that it's too easy, which now I'm starting to see, it is going to just lead us down a dark path with patches to shooting and everything. So that is kind of the first thing. The second thing, and we're going to go really in depth on this, is people continuing to say that NBA 2K26 My Team is the worst My Team of all time. And I'm going to shut down those claims right now by looking back on 2K24 My Team as well as 2K25 My Team. We are going to start with 2K24, which I think is the most ridiculous claim. And the people saying that, oh, it was good before the All-Star break. It's been dead since 2K24 before the All-Star break. It was really good at the beginning of the game. All this and that. First of all, the player market sucks. It takes away sniping, which is about like 25% of the community, I would say. And that's generous. A lot more people actually do like to snipe, but that's kind of the people that just exclusively snipe. So it takes away that subset of the community. Second of all, it just made MT overall way harder to get because you can't use the auction house to make MT. You have to grind your butt off playing the game to get MT. And third of all, yes, you might get a good amount of MT if you pull a card or whatever. It wasn't as hard to get cards and everything. But I think that the thing that people forget is if you pull a card or buy a specific card, you were pretty much stuck with that card. Because the example I'm going to use is a Ruby from, let's say like Ruby Andre Iguodala from the Legendary Path. Say you wanted to try him out, you pay 80K for him, because that's about how much he costs, I believe. You want to try him out, you don't like him. Well, you're screwed, because when you sell him back, you're going to get like 25K MT back, and then you got to grind your butt off again to get back up to 80K, and maybe you get another Ruby that you don't like. Whereas with the auction house, you can sell back your card for pretty much the amount that you paid for it, especially with how the game is now, with content being kind of the same and cards retaining their value more than ever before. If you want to sell back a card, you can sell back a card and get the amount of MT back that you paid for it pretty much, sometimes even more, because cards are rising in price. And then you can go ahead and pick up another card and keep trying out card after card after card. And that's how my team should be. You could not do that in 2K24. If you pulled a card or bought a card, you were pretty much stuck with it. Because I don't know if people are just forgetting that. Like you sell it back and you get a quarter of your MT back. It was such an L. Such an L. And no auction house. I was talking about this earlier. The auction house is the skin and organs of my team. And without the auction house, my team is just a skeleton. It really, really is. A lot of the freedom is gone because if you want a specific card, you got to stick with that card. It's just, it doesn't work. My team does not work with the auction house. And if we keep saying that 2K24 was good, they're going to bring back the player market and take out the auction house. Which that might already be happening because people are complaining about how expensive cards are, how unattainable cards are. 2K are seeing how expensive the cards are, which that's their own doing because they made MT easier to get than it ever has been, which is a good thing. That's great. But if people keep glazing the player market, it's going to come back because the player market is better for 2K's pockets than it is with the auction house. They know that people make hundreds of thousands, millions of MT off the auction house. They know that people snipe and get God squads without spending money. So it's going to come back if people keep glazing it. 2K25, let's move on to 2K25. NBA 2K25, my team, Season 1 specifically is what we were talking about. First of all, none of these game modes were as rewarding as they are this year, especially Breakout, obviously. Breakout's like 5 to 10 times more rewarding than it was last year, MT-wise and otherwise. There's better rewards in Triple Threat Park. All-Star Team-Up wasn't even a thing, and All-Star Team-Up is pretty fun as long as you don't run into Zenners or get a free agent Allen Iverson in your lineup that throws the game. Other than that, it's pretty fun. The Showdown rewards weren't as good last year. And obviously, there wasn't these exchange rewards for game modes. You couldn't complete game modes and get these rewards. That was not a thing in Season 1 last year. Now, a lot of people are kind of looking back and saying, oh, we got packs on Tuesdays last year, Season 1. All of the cards in Tuesday packs sucked last year. I would much rather have, yes, I know these packs aren't openable with MT. That's the one knock that I will always put on these packs. They should be openable with MT. But I would rather have these thousands of wild gems that we can try out and have fun with, all these hundreds of different cards, than have mid-Tuesday drops. I mean, I don't understand people saying that the Tuesday drops are better than this wild gems concept because I just don't see it. I don't think that that is the case. I think that a lot of the complaints stem from, okay, we're not getting any new content. I understand that. It's been a little bit stale. I think if they did like the Wild Gem Super Packs as well as a promo on like Wednesday, that would be the ideal situation. So I understand where people are coming from that the game is feeling stale. I do. But to me, it's not stale because there's still hundreds and thousands of cards that I haven't tried out yet that I still want to try out. I'm building up my team and I'm not having to buy players and sell back players because cards are dropping in value every week and continue to reset my team and everything. I've been able to kind of just grind and chill and build out my team as the season goes on. Maybe I'll sell my team before super packs drop at the end of this season because maybe they'll increase the odds a little bit on super packs or something and then everyone's got Pink Diamond Wild Gems dropping value, whatever. Maybe I'll sell my team at the end of season 1. But with how the system is now, you don't have to be, using a card for a week and then selling it back in fear of it losing value. So that's my point with 2K25. Those are, if you think that 2K25 or 2K24 was a better experience than 2K26, my team, I completely don't understand. And that's not even, I didn't even mention rep. The rewards that we get for rep this year are night and day better than they were last year. So that's another thing too. So yeah, now we are going to go through a list of things that were complained about at the time that have never been brought back. And I think a lot of it is 2K2, okay? This isn't just the player base's fault. A lot of it I think 2K doesn't bring back because of laziness or just because it wasn't making them money, whatever the case may be. But I think a lot of it is because of community feedback as well, a lot of these things. So let's just get started, man. The first thing on my list is Spotlight Sims. So a lot of what people said about Spotlight Sims, and the complaining started very heavily in 2K23 because they brought back some Spotlight Sims in 2K23 that were similar to the ones that we got in 2K20 and 2K21. And the complaint was, this isn't the pandemic anymore. Nobody has time to grind this out anymore. This is a major, major L. When in reality, it really wasn't that crazy of a grind. I don't even think it was as crazy as it was in like 2K20. And this also kind of goes into the complaint that I don't understand, where you don't need to retain every single card in the game. So for Spotlight Sims, for example, because that's what we're talking about, you don't need the ultimate reward. So for the Spotlight Sims, the Galactic Spotlight Sims in NBA 2K23, no, you don't need a Galaxy Opal Andrew Wiggins. You can go ahead and get Pink Diamond Jason Kidd, which you only had to complete one section of the Spotlight Sims for. You can be good with that. You don't need to complete the whole thing. 2K21 Galactic Spotlight Sims, or not Galactic, whatever, the Gauntlet. You don't need Invincible Taco Fall. Just go ahead and get Dark Matter Terry Dishinger, or one of the other really good Dark Matters. You don't need to complete every single game to get the ultimate reward. 2K20, go ahead and get Pink Diamond Thorough Bailey. You don't need to complete the whole thing and get Galaxy Opal Kobe. Okay? So, yeah, the complaint about how long grinds are, as well as there's two sides of it, right? There's the side where it says, oh, these cards are too, we're seeing it now with these season awards. Oh, the cards are too hard to get. And then there's the side where I already have everything, there's nothing to do. Which, it's just like, find a place in the middle, man. And if you can't get the ultimate reward, if you can only get one of the pink diamonds, if whatever the case may be, you don't have time to complete a game mode, you can still get good rewards. If you already have all of them and there's nothing to do, well, maybe you're just a little bit burnt out because you just grinded hundreds of hours to get all four of the pink diamonds. So it kind of goes back to that whole argument, which I talked about in my prior video. If you've not checked that out, check that out after this, man. The next one is Spotlight Sim packs. So there was some packs in the pack market, man. And it was actually a very cool concept. People would be playing the Spotlight Sims during COVID times, right? And they would use some random player and post on Twitter or whatever, oh, I dropped 80 points and 20 assists with Jim Paxson. So then they put a pink diamond Jim Paxson in packs. And just random players like that who usually would not necessarily get a high tier card. There was a diamond Craig Elo, the guy that Jordan hit a shot on in 91. This was a very cool concept, and it got so heavily complained about at the time because the cards were not meta and didn't do anything for comp players. Whereas for casuals, and pretty much, I mean, everyone besides the comp community, they were cool because it was something different. It was different cards that we could use. It was random. It was interesting. It was kind of funny, honestly, seeing some of the cards that were dropped in this. This was so heavily complained about, it's never returned. Next thing, collector level. People complained about so hard about collector level that it was all money spent only, that it was unattainable to complete collector level without spending money. Now everyone's asking for collector level back. Next thing, there was a concept in NBA 2K20 Myteam called the Players Club. And we run into an issue with this Players Club concept as well, where the cards were not meta. This is useless. There was like a Galaxy Opal Kyle Anderson, Galaxy Opal Myers Leonard, Galaxy Opal PJ Washington. Again, just kind of some random guys that wouldn't normally get like a super high tier card. No, they weren't usable in a comp setting, but you could use them in a casual, like unlimited setting or triple threat setting, and you'd be able to cook with them. Just because they didn't have, specific animations they were complained about. And I thought that they actually had an event where during a couple weekends you would get a free Players Club pack, and you could get like a pink diamond or an opal Players. I think there was diamond too. Out of the pack, after every single game, you'd get a random card, and I grinded the heck out of it that weekend. I got like Galaxy Opal Kyle Anderson, Galaxy, all the cards that I just mentioned, and they all made my team, and I thought it was cool to run those cards because nobody had them. So yeah, Players Club, it's the same thing as with those Spotlight Sim packs, those inserts that they did, where it's the ones that we just talked about. It's kind of the same thing. The cards weren't meta, so it was complained about, even though it was a very cool concept. 12-0, 12-0 and unlimited. Everyone asked for this back, and it was complained about very, very heavily at the time because it was unattainable for people that weren't good at the game. And now everyone begs for it back. RNG rewards, same thing. We've discussed this so many times. RNG rewards in modes such as Triple Threat Offline, in Clutch Time, in Showdown, which was unlimited at the time. You would have a very, very small chance to get a card that was in the vault or a card that was in the ball drop. Complained about so heavily at the time for how long it was taking people to get certain cards. Now it's gone, people ask for it back. And it's another situation where you don't need every RNG reward. They dropped an RNG reward like every 2 weeks. You don't need to get every single one. If you're getting like 1 out of every 3, it's fine. You don't need every single one. Yes, there was ones like Danny Ferry, Terry Dishinger, that were kind of ones that everyone grinded their butt off for. Some people had to play hundreds of games. That was awesome. It brought the community together. Everyone was grinding it out. Everyone was having fun because this is one of the best cards in the game and everyone's going for it. And the content that came from that was amazing. But then a couple people complained because it took them over 1,000 games to get one of these specific cards, and now it's gone. And a lot of the heavy complaining with this started in 2K23, which, as we'll notice, a lot of heavy complaining with a lot of these things starts later in my team, and a lot of the complaints stem from burnout of the mode. That is what a lot of this comes from. People are so burned out, they need to go play something else. They're sick of the mode, so they start complaining about everything. So, yeah, 2K23, they introduced it where there was RNG rewards, and then you could also get them from doing challenges, which in theory was a good thing, right? I mean, you have the RNG rewards available as they were, and then you can also do the challenges were very hard for a while. Okay, like these were not easy challenges. It would take you a long time to get these challenges done, multiple days of grinding. So I understand that that was kind of what was really looked down upon with this whole concept. But having one of those cards every week or two, and then it also being available with RNG, it just got so complained about so heavily that they got rid of it. Lock-ins. Now we're seeing this exchange concept, which is, I think, objectively worse than just your set lock-in that we would normally have. Normally, these sets in Season 1, like we get a Pink Diamond Wild Gems pack. Now, this would be a Pink Diamond exclusive to locking in the game on set. And it would be the same with all of these sets. That's what we used to get. And yes, it was pay to win because some of those cards were good. And yeah, you got to pay to get the whole set. I mean, let's just call it what it is, unless you focus on getting only one set and grind it out for days or weeks or whatever, because it was a lot harder to get MT back then. It was hard to get those cards, no money spent. So that's kind of was the complaint. And now people look back on lock-ins because they were, they're just objectively better than this whole exchange concept that we have now. They just are. So yeah, heat check. So in earlier games, we had a concept called heat check where we would get a set that was identical to this Series 1 set, and it would just be called heat check. And these cards were pullable, right? And the cards would get upgraded. Their overall would get upgraded if they had like a really good game. So say this Ruby Joel Embiid drops like 50 and 10 in a game. So then his overall goes up to 94 in the heat check set. So what that does is it would make the value of the card rise, which was good for people who already had this card because then they could sell them and make some MT off of it. And it was also good for people who opened up packs because then there were certain heat check cards that were worth more. So objectively, I would say that this was kind of, there really wasn't anyone that was losing with a concept like this. But people complained about it, said that it was useless. Oh, the cards aren't meta because badges don't get added to them when they get upgraded. Whatever. There was all kinds of complaints with this, so they got rid of it. There was a season in NBA 2K21 called Mystery Seasons. It was called Mystery. It was season 6 of NBA 2K21, my team. And it is now kind of looked back as the most interesting season we've ever got, the most innovative season we've ever got, because it was so different than any other season. Now every season kind of feels the same. It has for a while. Season 6 in NBA 2K21, my team was not like that. You could randomly get into the glitch market, which was very hard. It was completely RNG based. You had to get extremely lucky. There was a dark matter taco fall that only like 100 people got. I got into the glitch market once. I got pink diamond Frankenitalaquina. There was some random pink diamonds and opals, and then there was dark matter taco that you could get, and you could also get packs when you got into the glitch market. It would just happen randomly after every game, and it was completely RNG based. I probably played 500 games in season 6. I only saw the glitch market once, and it was for one of the cards that wasn't really as desirable. But still, that was a cool concept. And again, you don't need dark matter taco fall. You don't need all the cards. That the complaints from that stemmed. It's the same with the RNG concept, the Spotlight Sim. The complaints stem from the same subset that seems to think that every single card needs to be accessible. And there was also some random locker codes. People complained about the locker codes because they expected their rewards to be better than they were, but it was still cool that we were even getting locker codes that were hidden across my team in kind of like this, I don't know if, I can't remember if it was like Roman numerals or if somehow people decoded these messages that were all over the menus, and they ended up being locker codes. And there was actually a couple locker codes that only one person could redeem that got them the gold Tyronn Lue. And then I think it was if you dropped like 21 points with gold Tyronn Lue, you would automatically get the level 40 reward without even having to get to level 40, which was Dark Matter J.R. Smith. And level 40 was way harder back in those days than it is now. So if you could get level 40 instantly, like that was a big deal. And in theory, I think that that was really cool. I really, really do. Dark Matter J.R. Smith was not a good level 40 reward, but that aside, this whole concept with all these different things was so, so cool. But everyone complained about because it wasn't accessible. It was all RNG based, blah, 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 blah. So we never saw it again. So possessed Halloween inserts, limited edition inserts, all kinds of inserts that they've done throughout the years. Every single time they get complained about because they're inaccessible. And I understand these complaints. I do. It's hard to get these inserts. But the thing that I don't understand is, so for the possessed Halloween inserts, there was like a 12-hour period where you could pull a pink diamond LeBron. You could pull a pink diamond Harden, and you could only pull it in that 12-hour time period. Or maybe it was like 4 hours something. It wasn't very much time. You had to open up packs during a certain time window. You could pull these specific cards. The cards didn't get added in for like an hour with a couple of them. That was a major L on 2K's part, that people should have gotten refunded for the packs that were open during that time. That was a major L. But with that aside, this was a cool concept. Same with the limited edition concept, where you could only pull them out of the packs. And then these got dogged on, these inserts, but then everyone looks back at the inserts in 2K19, the limited edition inserts, and those get glazed to the moon, which is something that I don't understand, because from my understanding, the concept is pretty much the same. So I don't get that. I really don't. People complained about the Season of Giving event in Season 3 because Galaxy Opal Baron Davis wasn't as good as he should have been, even though the Season of Giving event brought the community together. It was something really cool to do all of Season 3 when everyone was still kind of in lockdown around Christmas time in 2K21. Absolute W of a season. And then it also had my favorite level 40 reward of all time, which was Galaxy Opal Dwayne Wade. So, was Baron Davis as good as he could have been? Was he meta? No. But it was still cool. It was still a cool grind. It was still fun. So just because of the fact that Baron Davis wasn't as good as people expect him to be or wanted him to be, it got complained about. So we never really saw an event quite similar to that ever again. Limited. Now, I don't like limited. I never did at the time. I think that salary cap is objectively better. I've already talked about that in a previous mode. But now people are asking for limited back. And we're not going to get limited back because it got complained about so heavily. Rightfully so on this one, though. Limited was an L. Okay, so of course in 2K22, we had Clutch Time Online. And in 2K23, we had it as well. It was a game mode that was separate from Breakout. You could play Clutch Time Online, which was very, very fun. It was rewarding. There was ultimate rewards. There was an RNG reward on the spin wheel. It was a major, major W. It was a fun mode. They should bring it back. I agree with everyone saying that they should bring it back. It was awesome. Everyone now, though, is glazing for some reason. I've heard multiple people glaze this Pink Diamond Damian Lillard from Season 3 of 2K22, saying that he was super easy to get and he was a major W. And what you had to do was get 50 wins in Clutch Time Online, and you could not take 3 losses within a set of those 10 games within that 50. So if you take 3 losses in your first 10 games, you get reset. So no, this was not easy. Everyone was getting reset. Even comp players were getting reset because the game mode was so sweaty. People ended up getting Dame. And could you get him in a short amount of time? Yeah, it wasn't that much, only 50 wins, But it wasn't that easy. It was a sweat fest. And people are looking back on this Pink Diamond Dame specifically and saying that he was like super easy to get, which is not true. It was an absolute sweat fest. Was it a W? Yes, though. It was a W. Okay, so in 2K21, we had exchanges for Pink Diamonds in, I believe that this was like Season 4 or Season 5. And all that you needed there was like a Pink Diamond Evan Fournier, which was the first one, and then they had a few more during the season. Evan Fournier Pink Diamond was the first one. Now, all that you needed for Pink Diamond Evan Fournier was a specific amethyst and a specific ruby that were available in the packs that were dropped on Tuesday. The packs were VC only. So it was similar to this Wild Gems concept where it was VC only to get these specific cards, but it was not that hard because you only needed 2 cards. It was way better than this Wild Gems concept is now. And it was a major W overall, I thought. And people complained about that because you could only get them with VC, and they actually fixed it, which is something that they would not do these days. They put them in the vault in Triple Threat Offline and put them on the ball drop in Triple Threat Online, and people continued to complain, saying that they weren't seeing them pop up, saying that this is an L because it's RNG based, saying that they were too hard to get and they weren't popping up for anybody. Which that was one at the time where I was like, really? And they never did that again. They never did that again, man. And what we would all do to go back to those times where the exchanges were how they used to be, man, instead of these Wild Gems exchanges. I don't get I didn't get the complaints with that at the time. I really, really didn't. Okay, Trophy Case. Trophy Case was a concept where it was similar to, actually, interestingly enough, these Season 1 mode completion awards. So if you completed a game mode in NBA 2K23 Myteam, you would get a centerpiece, which you needed other pieces for the Trophy Case Pink Diamonds as well, but the centerpiece was the hardest one to get. That's what everyone was grinding for. If you got the centerpiece, you're pretty much home to getting a Pink Diamond of your choice. And there was 30 Pink Diamonds you could choose of, as opposed, one for every team, as opposed to only 3. And people complained about it because it was inaccessible, the grinds were too hard. I mean, it would literally be the equivalent of what we have now, except there'd be more available Pink Diamonds. And also, when you locked in a certain division, you would get a Galaxy Opal and then eventually a Dark Matter. So by the end of Season 2, people were getting, Galaxy Opal, Anthony Davis, who was one of the best cards in the game. By the time people got the Dark Matters, they weren't really worth it. But other than that, the Trophy Case was a major, major W. And it got complained about so heavily that they never did it again, man. Bracket Busters inserts, it kind of goes into the same, insert conversation. People complain about the Legendary Path in 2K24 where there was a Amethyst that you had to lock in every set for, and then eventually you got Diamond Shack. I mean, that was interesting content. It was pay to win, sure, but it was still a W. There was inserts in 2K24 with the Freaky set that people complained about. People are complaining about these hidden gems and gems of the game and wild gems when I think it makes the game pretty interesting. It makes it so that the pacing is good. Um, I think the wild gems are a major W because there's thousands of cards you can go and buy, and makes it so that the game is not stale, which of course opposes the common belief because we're not getting new content on Tuesdays, even though I guarantee none of these people have used even 5 cards from any of these tiers. There's plenty of cards you can go try out and have fun with, man. People have complained about these events that they did last year, and now everyone's asking for an event at this point in the year. Yes, the events for the top tier cards are pay to win, but the events are very rewarding for no money spent players as well. Festivals, same thing. Pacing. People complain so much about the pacing, and the cards getting better every week, and cards are overpowered from one week to the next. Cards become unusable very quick after they're releasing. With how the game is set up now, the pacing is very, very good. So, yeah, man, that was the last one on my list. Let me know what you guys think, man. Thank you guys again so much for tuning in. We'll be back with more content soon. Please make sure to, if you're having trouble making MT, check out my video that I posted before this, how to make 100K MT per hour and build a God squad no money spent like I have. Completely no money spent. My squad's pretty good if I do say so myself, so make sure to check that out. And also leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you're new, man. Both those things help me out a ton. And I really, really appreciate both of those things from you guys, man. So, yeah, with all that being said, though, I will see you guys in the next vid.